31a, the very end of the Mishnah, talking about this Shavuos Edus, this oath of testimony. So the very end of the Mishnah says a few statements. Some are going to be explained in the next Amud of the Gemara. So if two witnesses are
31a,
31a, the last 3-4 lines of the Mishnah.
Okay.
Sorry, 31b. Sorry, 31b, the last 3-4 lines of the Mishnah. Thank you, Jules. If two witnesses come and someone tells them, "Do you know testimony?" and they deny testimony, so the Mishnah says, how do they deny it? They deny it. Kafru shneim ke'echad. They both deny it at the same time. So the Gemara is going to ask, how do they do it at the same exact time? But they both deny it. So, and then they're found to be liars. Shneim chayavim. So they deny that we know nothing about the testimony, and then they're found to be lying. So then they're going to be liable. However, if they do it one after another, so one witness denies that he knows anything, he makes a shvuah that he knows nothing about the case, and then the other one does the same thing, and then they're found to be liars. So harishon chayev hasheni pater. The first one's liable and the second one is exempt. Why? Because once the first one denied that he knows anything about the case, so now the second one is not a witness anymore. You need two witnesses. If the first one denies that he knows nothing about the case, so then there's only one witness here, and for one witness, you can't take out money from somebody with only one witness. So once the first guy says, "I don't know anything," so when he's found to be a liar, he's liable. But after that, the second guy is no longer a witness anymore, just a random guy, because witnesses have to come in twos. So, okay. Kafar echad v'hoda echad. So you have two witnesses. One denies that he knows anything about the case, and one admits that he does know about the case. HaKofer chayev, the one who denies, the one that denies is found to be a liar, so he is liable. He is liable for lying that he doesn't know anything about the case. Really, he does, and therefore he's going to be liable. Hayu shtei kitei edim, if you have two sets of witnesses. So now, the first group is kafra harishona, the achar kach kafra shni. So you have two sets of witnesses. Each one denies that they know anything about the case. And they make a shvuah. No, we don't know anything about the case. Shteyan chayavos. And then they're both found to be liars. Each one is going to be liable. Why? Each one, because they're a group of witnesses, the testimony could have been good with each pair of witnesses. So when each pair of witnesses falsely swears that they know nothing about the case, that they don't know testimony, and then they're found to be a liar, so they're going to be liable. Okay. So now, classically, these cases go as follows. Someone tells the claimant, tells somebody, swear to me that you know nothing about the case. So, and then they swear that we know nothing about the case. And then if they're found to be liars, then they have to pay. What happens if he never said anything, but he was chased after two people? Amar Shmuel Ra'u Sharatz Acharein. He chased after two people. Amrulo, and they said to him, Mata Ratz Acharein, what are you chasing after us? Shvuah she'ein ani yodin lecha eidos. This guy is chasing after them. And they turn around and they go, what are you chasing after us for? We're making a shvuah that we don't know any testimony about you. So now he never said anything. He never said, come and testify. He just ran after them. So says the Gemara, Pturin achi yishmo mipiv. They're patur until he utters to them, swear to me that you know testimony. Until he says that, the fact that they on their own volition go and they swear is not going to be enough. So says the Gemara, I know that already. My Kamash Malon, Tanina. We learned in a Mishnah coming up, Shilach Biad Avdo, if a claimant sends his servant to get the other guy to swear, or Osh Amar Lehen Nitba, or the defendant on his own says, Mashpiani Aleichem, She'imatem Yodim Lo Eidos, Shetavo V'Ta'idu. So the defendant says, I'm making you guys swear that if you guys know any testimony, then you should come and testify. Here also, the claimant never said, come and testify. Just the defendant is saying this. The defendant can't cause them to swear a Shavuot Sa'edah, an oath of testimony. It has to only come from it can't come from the defendant. It has to come from the claimant. It says, Hare Elu Ptur, they're exempt from this kind of oath. They're found to be liars, they're going to be exempt. Until what? Until they hear it from the claimant's mouth. So what are you teaching me, Shmuel? That if you chase after a guy, chase after two witnesses, and they on their own volition testify that they don't know any testimony about you, that you're going to be exempt. We know already that until the claimant tells them, come testify for me, that they're going to be exempt. We know that already. Says the Gemara, no. It's strichale. I need it. Why? You would have thought that chasing after somebody is basically the same as telling them, come testify for me. Why is he running after them? So since you would have thought that chasing after them is that you're causing them, just like speaking caused them to testify, chasing after them also caused them to testify, that would be enough that if they testify and then are found to be liars, that they're going to be liable. Kamash Malon, that Shmuel came and taught us a novelty, that until you actually utter the words, come and testify, the fact that you chased after them is not going to be enough. 1 second. Yeah. Okay. Says the Gemara, also our Mishnah, you can prove from our Mishnah. How? Shavuot Sa'edas Ketzad. Our Mishnah told us, what's the case of an oath of testimony? Amar le'edim, someone told two witnesses, Bo'u v'hiduni shvuah. Come and make a shvuah. What do you see from the Mishnah? You have to tell two witnesses, come and make a shvuah. Says the Gemara, Amar in lo, Amar lo. It's only if you say, come make a shvuah. But if you don't say it, it's not going to work. So why don't we just, what's Shmuel teaching us? It's a Mishnah already that says you have to tell them, come and testify. So says the Gemara, no, Amar lav dafka. When in our Mishnah, when it says Amar, you can't interpret it to mean only if you said, and if not, not. Maybe Amar's lav dafka. It doesn't mean that you have to say. Now, why would I say this? Di lote mahachi, if you don't say. Now, when the Mishnah says that a claimant told two witnesses, come and make an oath, that you can't deduce from the fact that it said that he said to come and take an oath. So if I don't say that it's not that it's just more of a way of the Mishnah writing it, then I can deduce a lot from there. If you don't say that, so at the next Mishnah, Gabe Pikadon, the oath of someone who's watching someone's object. So it has the same language. Gabe Pikadon the Katani says in the Mishnah, by a Pikadon, by a deposit, it says Shavuos HaPikadon Ketzad. What's the case of an oath that the watchman has to make that he didn't touch, he didn't ruin or touch the guy's object? Ketzad Amar lo Teili Pikadon. The guy says, "Give me my object back." Sheish b'yadcha. So Hachanami Amar in lo Amar lo. The word, it says Amar in that Mishnah also, and yet we know that even if the owner of the object, he goes on vacation and leaves his car by you, and then he comes and says, give him back my car. So does he have to say, "Give me back my car"? What if he doesn't say that? What if you, what if you on your own make the shvuah? So says the Gemara, "V'chichesh ba'amiso kol duhu." Any kind of shvuah, any kind of denial, will make you liable. Meaning, it's not a shvuah that has to come through necessarily through his words. Even if you on your own, you come back and the object is gone, and you want to make a shvuah denying that you ever did anything to it. It wasn't you. You never violated it. So the Gemara learns out it's chigesh ba'miso kol duhu. Any kind of denial, even one that doesn't come from the owner of the object's initiative, that's still going to make you liable if you're found to be lying about your oath. So what do you see from there? That just because the Mishnah said Amar, that the owner of the object says, make a shvuah to me that you didn't touch my object. So, but he doesn't have to say that. So, Ella Amar lav dafka. The word Amar in the Mishnah is not, lav dafka. It's not necessarily to be used to deduce any laws. So, hachanami lav dafka. So, to an hour Mishnah also, Amar is not, you can't deduce from the word Amar at all. It's just a way of writing. It's a normal case. It's a way of writing, but it's not to be deduced any laws from there. That's why Shmuel didn't deduce it from our Mishnah. So says the Gemara, Haimai. So we just explained that these two Mishnayos both say the word Amar. Both of their examples of how to initiate their respective oaths start with somebody causing the witnesses to make an oath. He says, "Come give me testimony," or "Come give me back my object that I know you have in your hand." So they both initiated. It says Amar by both of them. Says the Gemara, Ha'imai, Yamris Bishlama, Amar Dahacha Dafka. If you'll tell me that when it says Amar in our Mishnah, it specifically says Amar to teach you that if you don't say it, the shvuah is not good. So then I understand. Tana Hasam Atuhacha. Once it says Amar over here, because here it has to say it, so in the next Mishnah, why did it say Amar over there? To parallel our Mishnah over here. We like to keep the Mishnah in the same format with the same language. That makes sense. Ela Iamris lo Amar the Iamris lo Amar the Hasam Dafka velo Amar the Hacha Dafka. But if you want to tell me that both Amars in both Mishnayos are both unnecessary, they're both a way of writing, so then Amar Lamali. So then why'd you say Amar in both Mishnayos? For what reason? So Lamali Lemisni. So says the Gemara, well, that's not such a crazy question because you could just say that it's a normal case. Dilma Orcha de Milsa Kamashmalan. It's just telling you the normal way. You're right that you don't need the guy to initiate an oath, but since that's the normal way to do it, therefore the Mishnah chose that case. So in Mishnayos, when you learn Mishnayos, you have to know which details are essential for the law and which ones are written because that's the normal case. But what would happen if you didn't say that detail? Or what happens if the detail wasn't there? Is it essential to the law or is just a normal way of speaking or normal way of acting? So that's what's going on behind the scenes over here. That really you can't deduce from the word Amar because that's just a normal case of how people initiate oaths. Okay. Tanya Kivasi to Shmuel. We're going to bring a brisa supporting Shmuel that you have to speak out, come and testify for me. Chasing after the guy is not going to work. So we're going to have a brisa like this. Ra'u Shabach Rayan, the guy there, someone's chasing after two guys. Amrulo, they say to him, Mata Bacharino, why are you chasing after us? Shvush Enani Yodim Lacha Eidos. Peturin. We're making a shvur that we don't know any testimony. Basically, stop chasing us. We're going to make a shvur that we don't know your testimony, and therefore we are exempt. However, if there was a case where the guy he thinks he deposited his item by you, and he's running after you, so that you should go and make a shvua that now the item's gone. Where is it? He thinks you took it. So when he chases after you by that case, and then you make an oath that you didn't touch his object, and so in that case you don't need him to initiate even any kind of denial of having the object in your possession would be enough. So therefore, if you initiate on your own, and then you're found to be a liar, you'll be liable, even if he never said, "Come and make an oath." He just chased after you. Yeah. Okay. So the Mishnah had a case where outside of court, the claimant tells two witnesses that swear to me that you don't know any testimony outside of court. Now, he did it outside of court, and then if they come into court and they deny that they ever made such an oath, and they're found to be liars, then they're going to be liable. However, if he makes you swear in court, so then that they don't know testimony, and then in court they deny that, so then you're only going to be liable once. So says the Gemara, Minolon de akfir bebezdin hu de mechayvi, and achutz lebezdin lo mechayvi. 1 second, sorry. So in the event where outside of Bezdin, they said, we don't know any testimony, and then they come into Bezdin, they say, oh, actually we do, so you're not liable. Says the Gemara, how do I know that denying outside of Bezdin, I'm exempt, and denying inside of Bezdin that I'm liable, how do I know that? Amar Abaye, Amar Cross, says the verse, Im lo yagid, if I don't testify, v'nasa avono, and I bear sin. So, what does that mean? Lo amarti lach ele b'makom she'ilu magid zeh mischayev zeh mamun. It's only if I deny testimony in a situation that if I were to testify, I would have obligated the guy money. Where is that? So it has to be in a place that if I were to testify, I would obligate the person money. Where is that? That's only in court. So therefore, if I deny the testimony and then I'm found to be a liar, that denial has to be in court also. If you're telling me that the verse is referring to a case where you're inside court, so then why is only the denial have to be in Bezdin? Let the oath itself only be allowed to be administered in Bezdin. So the oath itself should only be administered in Bezdin and not outside of Bezdin. Says the Gemara, no. And this is a little complicated, but it says, Lo sakadaitak, don't think that the Shavuot has to be in Bezdin. Why? The Brisa says the Tanya la'achas, by a lot of those oaths. It says, if you're found to be a liar by those oaths, you're only liable one offering. Okay, la'achas l'chai. Sorry, not one. You're liable for each one that you denied. Yeah, la'achas l'chayev al kol achas achas. So whatever, all the oaths over there in Vayikra, in the beginning of Vayikra, if you're found to be a liar by any one of those oaths, then you're going to be liable for each and every one. Okay, fine. So you're liable for each and every one. The Hatanan, and the Mishnah earlier said, our Mishnah right here, the Hatanan, hishbiya alein chamisha pa'amim. You make the witnesses swear 5 times b'fnei Bezdin, in front of Bezdin, and then the kafru, and they deny that they know anything about the testimony, and then they're found to be liars. Ein chayavin ela achas. they're only liable once. Why? Because Amar Shimon Matam, Ho'ul ve'enim yichol lachzor ulahodos. If they make you swear, do you know testimony? And you say no, and you swear that you do not know testimony. So what are you doing? You're testifying that you don't know testimony. Once you testified once, you can't testify again. That's the rule. You can't testify twice. So what do you see from here? Elalav shma mina, that shvua chutz lebezdin and kfira is bezdin. So once again, the Torah is obligating you that you're liable for each and every shvua that ends up being a false shvua, a false oath. And what do you see from here? If you made a number of oaths in Bezdin, every time you deny an oath, it says that you're liable. The Torah tells you that you're liable. For every denial of an oath, you're going to be liable. Now, if you deny, let's say, the same oath numerous times in Bezdin, you can't be liable more than one. And yet the Torah tells you you're liable each and every time you deny the oath. So where is that biblical law applicable? It can't be applicable in court, because if you deny the same thing more than once, you can't be liable in court, because that's like testifying twice. You can't testify twice. So when the Torah says you're liable each and every time you deny an oath, it must be referring to outside of Bezdin, because inside of Bezdin, you can't be liable for the same oath numerous times, because that's like testifying twice. So that's how you know that Shema Mina, Shvua Chutz LeBezdin, and Kfir is only bebezdin. That when our verse, which teaches us that denial has to be in court, because it has to be in a place where if you were to testify, you would obligate the guy money. How do I know that denial has to be in court? Maybe the oath itself has to be in court. So that the oath itself can't be in court. Why? Because the Torah says you're liable for every time you deny an oath. But the problem is that in court, you can't deny the same oath. You can't be liable for denying the same oath numerous times, because that's akin to testifying twice, 3 times, 4 times, and that you can't do. So when the Torah says you're obligated for each and every oath, it must be outside of Bezdin. From there, you learn that an oath outside of Bezdin is valid, which means that our verse teaches you that the denial of an oath the verse must be referring to the denial of an oath, and there the denial of an oath has to be in Bezdin. Yeah. Says the Gemara, the Mishnah had a case where 2 witnesses deny at the same time. So says the Gemara, you can't deny at the same exact time. Ha'iev Charlotte Tzamtzem. So says the Gemara, Amar of Chisda, Hamani Rabbi Yosef Lilihi, the Amar F Charlotte Tzamtzem. So background, by Mesechus Bechoros, when that animal is born, so the firstborn animal, so it goes to the Kohen. Now, what happens if the animal gave birth to twins? Right? I think the same animal gave birth to twins. So, yeah, he gave birth to twins. The question is, so which animal goes to the Kohen? So the sheep gave birth to twins. So which one goes to the Kohen? So there's a machlokas there. Does the heads come out at the same time, right? So now, according to the Rabbanon, it's impossible that they came out at the exact same time. I mean, the halacha would not recognize such a situation, and therefore you have to have them both graze until they get a mum, a blemish, and one is to you and one is to the Kohen. But according to Rabbi Yosef, he says no. The halacha does recognize that it is possible to be mitzamtzem, to English for mitzamtzem, Simultaneously, yeah. Literally means to constrain. A symptom is to constrain, but it means that things could happen simultaneously. So therefore, our Mishnah that says that the two witnesses testified at the exact same time could be according to Rabbi Yosef Glili, who says it is possible that things can happen simultaneously. Exactly. Rabbi Yochanan says no. Amar afilu tamer rabbanon. Even the rabbis would agree over here that they both can testify at the same time. Why? Kigon shekafru shneim b'sok kedei dibur. They both denied within toch kedei dibur. Toch kedei dibur kedibur dami. As long as they both deny within a 2-3 second span, enough for a person to say Shalom Lacha Rebbe Mori or Shalom Lacha Rebbe. So as long as they said it within that time frame, that's going to be enough. Says the Gemara, you'll never be able to have that time frame. Why? How long is Tokadei Dibur? Kadei she'elas tamid l'Rav. The amount it takes for a student to greet his Rebbe. How are you? So let's say that's, 1 second, 1.5 seconds, 2 seconds. But what's going to happen by Shavuos Eidos? Ad Amri Shavuos Einanu Yodin Lecha Eidos. So until they say, until the guy tells each one of them, Shavuos Einanu Yodin Lecha Eidos, you better make a Shavua that you don't know testimony. So he tells Reuven, make a Shavua that you don't know testimony. So he makes a Shavua. Then he has to say it again to Shimon, make a Shavua that you don't know testimony. That amount of time already is longer than Tokadei Dibur. So how can that be the answer to our Mishnah? Says the Gemara, Amar lei kol echad v'echad Tokadei Dibur shel chaver. What it means is, once one guy finished his Shavua, and then the next procession started, that's also considered like they both said it at the same time. It doesn't mean literally 3 seconds after, but it means that after one started, the next one began his process also, and that's going to be fine. That's also going to work. Yeah, once one guy finished his denial, the next one starts up his I'm making a shvur that I don't know any testimony about you. So we asked that when the guy says, let's say Reuben and Shimon are the witnesses. So Reuben says, I'm making a shvur that I don't know any testimony about you. And then Shimon says, I'm making a shvur that I don't know any testimony about you. Well, by the time Shimon finishes that sentence, it's been longer than the amount it takes to greet your Rebbe, Shalom Lecha Rebbe. It's longer than a second and a half. We said, you're right. But as long as you start B'tok Kedei Dibur of your friend, that's already enough. So that you could do once he finishes speaking and then he starts. So that's fine. And then they're both going to be liable. They're both going to be liable if they're found to be lying. Yeah. However, the other case is Bazachar Zaharishon Chai Vasheni Pater. If they testify not right next to each other, but a minute or two apart, whatever, or even one starts speaking more than 10 seconds apart from the other one, so more than really 2 seconds apart from the other one. So then we said the first one's liable because he made a shvua, he was found to be a liar, he's liable. But once he lied about his shvua, so then the second guy is not a witness anymore. If the first guy denied knowing testimony, so then the second guy is just like one guy. One guy is not going to be enough to be an aid, a witness in this case. So says the Gemara, Masnisin de lo kaitana. This mission that says that the second person is exempt because he's only one guy, does not go like the following brisa. Mashbia eid echad pater, Rebbe Lazar, Rebbe Shimon mechayev. So the brisa is talking about Sotano. I think that is Sotano. No, a regular case of money. Yeah, I guess a regular case. Sota's coming up soon. So the Tanya Mashbia Eid Echad. So you make one guy, just one guy. You make one guy make a shvuah. Swear to me that you don't have testimony. So the first opinion says you're exempt. You're only one guy. Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Shimon says, Mechayev, you're liable. You're liable. So our Mishnah must not be going like the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Shimon. So says the Gemara, what are these two opinions arguing about? The first opinion and the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Shimon. Lema b'hakamiflagi. They're arguing about the following case. Dimar savar eid echad. One opinion holds eid echad. Ki asa l'shvua. When a guy comes to testify, one guy comes to testify, he's just coming to obligate the person to make a shvua. We really know that, right? Two people can get money out of somebody. One person can't. But what could one person do? He can cause the guy to make an oath that he doesn't owe money. Says, you owe me $100. Okay, well, you're one guy. You're right, but one guy is enough to make the guy that he's claiming against make a shvua that he does not owe him $100. So one opinion holds when one guy comes, he's coming for a shvua, ki asa l'shvuhu de ka'asa. Umar savar, which is a little bit hard to understand, eid echad ki asa limamona ka'asa. According to Rabbi Shimon, even when one witness comes, he's coming because he wants to extract money from the guy. Says the Gemara, one guy comes to extract money from the person. You need two people to do that. Now, it's going to say a very cryptic line. We need only one part of this cryptic statement. And then the next, Amma's going to go through every part of the cryptic statement. So, B'tizbra, Hamar Abaye, the following puzzle. Yeah. Hakol modim be'ed sota, 1. Hakol modim be'ede sota, 2. Umachlokes be'ede sota, 3. Hakol modim be'ed echad, 4. The hakol modim be'ed echad shekenegdo chashal shvua, 5. So we'll get to each one of those 5 statements in a second, but everyone agrees by eid echad, meaning everyone agrees that when one witness comes, he can't come for money, he can't extract money from a person. So, and everyone seems to agree to that. So, what is the reasoning for Rabbi Shimon who comes and he's coming and then he swears and he's found to be a liar that he's liable? One guy can't extract money from anybody. Ella de kuli alma eid echad ki asi l'shvua kasi. You're right. When one witness comes, he wants to just cause the guy to make a shvua. The two opinions, the rabbis and Rabbi Shimon, are arguing about the following point. V'hacha b'haka mifligi. They're arguing about the following point. Mar savar davar hagor l'mamun kimamun dami. Umar savar lav kimamun dami. So let's say it's going to be coming up a case about sota. Basically, when two witnesses, right? The way a sota works is that two witnesses, the husband warns in front of two witnesses that she's warned in front of two witnesses, and now even when one witness comes afterwards and says, "I saw her secluded," so that's going to cause her to have to drink and potentially lose her ksuba. So in essence, this one person's testimony is causing a loss of money. It can cause her to drink and then she's going to lose her ksuba if she's found to be guilty. So the question is, when one person comes and causes somebody to lose a ksuba, well, his testimony doesn't do it directly, but he causes her to be a sota, and that is going to cause her to lose money. Is that considered like he's coming for a financial purpose or not? He's one step removed. One guy can't extract money from anybody, but he can cause a financial loss. So Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Shimon holds that if you're coming and your testimony can cause a financial loss, and then you're found to be lying about your testimony, so then you are going to be liable.
Isn't it one or the other? Isn't it one or the other? Either you lose a ketubah or you drink, but you don't do both, do you?
No. So
testimony indirectly leads to.
Right, a seal of testimony that indirectly leads to a loss of money. So if that happens, so then That's a question. Do we consider your single testimony to be coming for a financial purpose or not? What's the exact case here? So I'll talk about it in a second, but give us a sneak preview. Yeah, let's see. It's gonna be more. I think it's gonna explain it more now. I hope. So, Gufa, back to these 5 cryptic statements of Abaye. It's going wait well. Okay, Gufa Amar Abaye. Hakol modin beid sota, hakol modin beid soto, machlokas beid sota, hakol modin beid echad, hakol modin beid shekenegdo chashel al shvuah. Those are the 5 statements, one by one. Hakol modin beid sota shechayev. Everyone agrees that even one witness by a sota is going to be chayev, meaning his one testimony is going to be something that we're going to take, even though it's only one witness. Why? Shechayev be'ed toma derachmana hemne. Here, the Torah believes one witness. Diksiv be'ed ein ba. So kol sheyesh ba. Even one witness, the Torah here believes that. Now, let's say he comes and he. I guess in this case he's coming to exempt her, so he comes and testifies that she was secluded, so then she's going to lose her ksuba. Now that she's secluded, she's prohibited to her husband, she loses her ksuba. So here the Torah believes him. Now when he's found to be a liar, if that testimony is found to be false, since if it was truthful, she would lose her ksuba. When it's false, he's found to be a liar, he'll be liable for this shvuas edus, this oath of testimony. Okay. The hakol modim. Yeah. The hakol modim be'edei sota shepater be'edei kinui. So everyone agrees there's a case where if you have 2 witnesses that testify by the first stage, when the husband warns the wife not to not seclude herself with a man, and 2 witnesses they come and they testify that they testify that we have no idea about this warning that the husband ever gave the wife to not seclude herself. And then they're both found to be liars. That's exempt. Why? That's 2 steps removed, because you have to have warning to not seclude yourself, and then you have to have testimony that she was secluded. So the witnesses that are coming to testify about the warning about seclusion, they're 2 steps removed. You need to have first warning about seclusion, then seclusion to cause a financial loss. So therefore, in the case where they come and say we don't know anything about the husband warning her, and they make a shvuah, and then they're found to be liars, they're not going to be obligated for shvuas edus, the oath of testimony, because this is too far removed from causing a financial loss. It's called a gorim de gorim. It's a cause of a cause. 2 things have to happen for this to play out. Umachlokas be'edei sota. There's a machlokas by edei sota. Where's that? Be'edei stira. And this is our case. This is what we needed. That if by that in this case where the person swears that they never saw her secluded, and then they're found to be lying, they're going to be liable, because if 2 witnesses testified that she